Grogu. Playtime's over.
Everybody come and look!
Can I hold the baby?
It's a party.
So yes, I have so many questions to ask you. Very much looking forward to speaking to you ahead of time. How do you feel now that season 3 is over? You don't need to keep those secrets close to your chest anymore. It must be a relief.
It is and it isn't, right? I mean, it is in the sense that I'm so happy that I can talk about the show now, but it isn't in the sense that, I wish that the episodes were longer and there were more of them and all of the things that I think, the fans feel. I feel the same way.
Oh yeah, I'm with you. More episodes, the better. So I'm curious, when you were first approached by Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni for season 2, when you were told Bo-Katan's going to be realized into live action, were you given any indication of how prominent a role she was going to have in season 3?
No, I had no idea. They didn't tell me anything until, I got the scripts and then I was like, whoa, wait a second. This is different. And I wasn't prepared for that. I sort of, I was prepared for Bo to maybe be in more of the episodes this season because I was told she'd be in more. But I didn't realize that it would be, largely, the Bo-Katan story season. I had no idea.
Yeah, and I think a lot of fans dating back to your time in the Clone Wars were really happy to see that. Given that you've played this character now for 10 years or over 10 years now, I'm curious. You've also played roles in Halloween. You've played roles in The Flash, DC, Battlestar Galactica, all these different things. Is there another big franchise that you would really like to get your hands on at some point?
So many. I grew up watching Star Trek. I would love to do a Star Trek movie. I would love to.
That'd be brilliant.
It'd be amazing. And just go for the trifecta at that point.
Yeah.
I'm a huge superhero nerd. And I am obsessed with Poison Ivy. And I think that I would thoroughly enjoy playing that character. So you never know. You never know.
That to happen. We need that to, yeah, you never know. So I guess, as I was saying, given that you've played Bo-Katan for over 10 years now, the character really intimately. I'm curious if you could take a trait of Bo-Katan's and have it be your own, what would that trait be? And kind of vice versa, if there is something that you think Bo-Katan will benefit, a trait that you have that Bo-Katan would benefit from having.
Before this season, I would have said humility. And she could have benefited from a little bit of that. I don't know. That's such a good question. I think that that Bo doesn't really second guess herself a lot, or seemingly doesn't. And I think that that's a really great sort of trait, to be able to trust your gut at all times. But yeah, and as something that I have, I don't know. I hope that what I would hope is that Bo, moving forward, actually sticks with it. You know what I mean? Like, I hope she doesn't get deterred with the amount of work that is required of her and her people moving forward. So, I guess resiliency is a good thing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Perseverance, resiliency. Yeah. So many people, dating back to season 2, many people with that finale thought that season 3 was setting up this battle between Din and Bo-Katan, and that you guys were going to go head to head. And that didn't really happen. Instead, we kind of find Bo at this very low place at the beginning of season 3 as she, slowly but surely aspires to take back Mandalore. When you
Yeah.
first started having these conversations about season 3, were you surprised to see the direction that your character went in?
No. I've never seen Bo as a inherently like dark bad character. I've always, maybe because it's that I have such a love for her, I've always seen her as a misguided youth who put her faith and her trust in the wrong person. She's always done what she thought was best for her people. She just made some mistakes, a lot of mistakes along the way. But I've never seen her as just a bad person. So I knew that story-wise, it would be difficult for them to play that story out because you have a character that the fans love in Din, and you have a character in Bo that serves a story moving forward. Mm. So it's a really, really hard thing to decide who gets to win that fight. So I think that they did what was right in that, she bested the thing that bested him. She won it in battle, whether you want to argue that or not. And then I think they did something really phenomenal after that and said none of it mattered anyway.
Right. Yeah. And kind of poetic.
Like everyone's arguing over, like, yeah. I mean, isn't that the irony? That, that this trinket was something that people fought over forever.
Yeah.
And now it's being fought over in the message groups.
Yeah. After being reduced to rubble. Yeah.
To rubble.
Yeah. Kind of going off that, I know that, you've played a wealth of characters in your filmography, not just Bo-Katan, but Bo-Katan is unique in that so much of her development occurs off screen. There's so much that happens between where we last saw you in Rebels and where we pick up with you in Mandalorian. I'm wondering, as an actor, what is that like to play a character? How do you approach that? Picking up a backstory or picking up a character at a place after the fact, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you have such a wealth of backstory and so little of it ends up on screen, I mean, I guess it's not so little of it, but such a reduced amount of it ends up on screen. I think it's such a beautiful thing to know a character so well inside and out that I can dream as her, and the story, like the movie, just keeps going in my head because I know so much of her story, even so much of her story that the fans don't know. But selfishly, I know that there's an amazing story there. And so I would love to see it as an audience member. I would love to see that at some point, whether or not we'll get to or not, I have no idea. But she is so fleshed out in my mind. And my only hope is that she continues to be more so on camera.
Yeah, me too. And I think fans would agree with you, especially seeing you from the Clone Wars, Rebels, and now Mandalorian. I'm curious if you had the chance to, let's say, lead your own show and maybe tell some of that backstory or even continue the character moving forward as in a solo show. Is that something that would be of interest to you?
Yeah. I think it would largely also depend on what the focus was, right? And what the story was. But I think that there is more than enough backstory and current story of the Mandalorians as a people and Bo to do a show. Those decisions, sadly, are just above my pay grade.
No, that's okay. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed. Keep our fingers crossed. Yeah, so now that season 3 is over, I wanted to touch a little bit about spoilers. That duel with you and Moff Gideon in the finale was epic, was so neat. And we talked about the ending with that dark saber being reduced to rubble. What was the preparation for that? Like, it seemed like it required a lot of physicality, the choreography, very intricate.
Good. Yeah. So that is one of the things about this show that I think that people are starting to realize is that these characters are so big and these seasons are so big to shoot that it would be impossible to shoot this with one person. And so for that amazing fight, the lion's share of it fell on Joanna Bennett, who is my stunt double. Joe is fantastic. We spent so much time together this season getting everything right and working on it. I did aspects of the fight for sure, because Joe and I, at the end of the day, still move differently. But she's amazing. And I think the most important thing is, as an actor and loving Bo as much as I do, taking my ego out of it and realizing that it would be a disservice to not put the best person in the suit to portray the character that day. And in this season, there were no less than 3 stunt doubles in my suit doing different things because that's what the character required. And that last battle was awesome, just awesome. And they put so much into it, that between Joe and I, and JJ, our fight choreographer, it turned out amazing. Turned out really amazing.
Yeah, it really did. And you mentioned the word humility earlier. I find that humility really endearing, pointing out that, there's other people in the suit. So I appreciate you pointing that out. Yeah, similarly along the spoilery lines, I wanted to talk about chapter 22 because you got to act alongside Jack Black, Lizzo, and the Christopher Lloyd. I had to ask that episode really came as a surprise to fans to see, all these popular names and faces. What was that like to work with those 3?
Yeah. I mean, Christopher Lloyd, I'd met Chris before, but I've been a fan of him since I was a little kid, like so many people. He's just a phenomenal talent. And, Jack is, I knew that when they told me that Jack was going to play Bombardier, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? My character is the straight character. Yeah. And I don't have the benefit of having a helmet on.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, this is going to be so hard. Like, how do I not laugh? And the good news is that, Bryce and John and I had a discussion beforehand that Bo can find these people humorous. She is charmed by them. And that made my life a lot easier because I didn't have to completely hide my smile. And then Lizzo is such a phenomenal musician, and she came in, talk about humble. She came in and really just wanted to make sure that she did a good job because she loves the show so much. And you have to respect that. And she's a phenomenal musician, and I love her music. She's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, seeing you on screen with her, with them 3 was not expected. So that was really a pleasure. Yeah, no, I wanted to thank you for speaking with me today. I really appreciate it. We were in London a few weeks ago and had the pleasure of, seeing you from the crowd there, and just, you're always such a warm and lovely presence with Star Wars fans. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I'm such a fan of sci-fi, and I've been doing this now for more than half my life. And which is so weird. And I owe so much of my continued success to the fans that continue to watch the things that I do. And so I just have such a love for all of the fans, because I also love what I do. And I love that. It's fun.
Yeah, well,